Welcome back to page 121. Today we're going to talk about a very near and dear friend of mine, a good product that I absolutely love and use a bunch. And it's the City of Greyhawk, the Gem of Athena set. This set came out in 1989 to mixed reactions, I guess, because the lots of Gary Gygax to D&D was still pretty new. I embraced getting this set, even though this set does contradict some stuff that we'd already been told about Greyhawk. I felt that what it added was absolutely worth more than what it took away. So we're going to take a look at the set, a little bit of the history of it, why it was a little controversial when it came out, and I was the only one in my group excited about it. So the City of Greyhawk box set. Okay, the City of Greyhawk, Greyhawk Adventures box set. I was really excited when this guy came out. I had seen an ad in Dragon Magazine, so I knew it was coming. I just didn't know exactly when it was going to drop. That was how things were in the late 80s. But when I got it, first chance I had, I read it. Very enjoyable. For my taste, I really liked the contents. This was the biggest thing we'd ever seen for the actual City of Greyhawk. I think it still is, actually. And I realized when I bought it in 1989 that this was not going to be Gary Gygax's Greyhawk. Gary had left the company a few years earlier, and it had been made pretty clear that we weren't going to see a lot of his original notes and things like that. So this was a different kind of City of Greyhawk, but honestly, it filled the enough for me. There is some stuff in here that feels a little bit like Gygax. Some of it was taken from the Gord the Rogue books. The Beggars Union is involved here, which was hardly an invention original to Gary Gygax. Beggars Unions have existed in real life, but they do exist in the City of Greyhawk. I found it quite good for what I needed for my campaign. I did use it. I still use it. I've changed what I didn't like. One of my player characters owns the left hand in and has for years. That's brought out in the books. But like I said, this was not Gary's City of Greyhawk, but honestly, the one that made print, even had he stayed with TSR, would not have been truly what he gamed in anyway. It would never survive the transition. There are some things he'd want to keep for his own campaign, some things that would be personal to his campaign that he would have kept back, and I wouldn't have blamed him. So this is compatible for AD&D and the AD&D second edition game systems. This dropped right about the time second edition was getting started. I'm going to show you the back of the box. Gives a little idea of what we have inside. This was the princely sum of $18 in 1989. Not cheap, actually, as far as that goes. I realize a set like this now would be $50 to $70, but $18 was not that cheap then, but in my opinion, completely worth it. I've used this for over 30 years in my campaign. I'm going to go through today's video and just show what the contents of the box were, as opposed to actually going into the details, because I'm going to do a future video where I talk about what's actually in the booklets. I'll give a thumbnail of what's in the booklets today, and then I'll go into some deeper dive in a later video. So here we go. The first book, Greyhawk, Gem of the Flayness, a gazetteer of the Free City of Greyhawk and the surrounding area. This did a lot to flesh out Greyhawk, and specifically Greyhawk City, because we got to see things like the names of the gates to and from the city. There's a great poster map of the city that I'm going to show in a minute, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, but it's got it broken down by districts and everything else. Well, this book follows the map in that it tells us who lives where and who does what, and a lot about the Circle of Eight in this group, in this box set. So for that alone, it was worth it. I'm going to go ahead and show you the next book in this set. The back cover is just blank. Greyhawk, Folks, Feuds, and Factions. The good, the bad, and the in-between people who make the city what it is. So this is where a lot of the NPCs are called out. Who runs the local inn, who does what with the government, who the oligarchs are. Greyhawk is ruled by a Lord Mayor and up to 18 oligarchs. And the oligarchs are really the power behind the throne. A lot of Greyhawk was based on the city of Chicago politics, especially in Gary Gygax's original campaign. A lot of the stuff came from actual Chicago politics. In fact, in his old Gore the Rogue, the city of Stoink is lorded over by Boss Daley. Mayor Daley of the city of Chicago. That would be a reference to the first Mayor Daley, not his son Richie. Uh, so there's a lot of the flavor of the local Chicago area in some of this with the oligarchs. We have a city council. They think they're oligarchs. But enough about politics. Okay, the next thing. You got adventure cards. This was the time when Dungeon Magazine was still doing really well, was still popular. And each of these sets would have all these nice cardstock with these adventures inside. So this is Bath Time for the Hopping Prophet. So if you want to deal with Wastry the Hopping Prophet, it's a 2-part adventure. It has the levels right up here. 18 levels, average of 3rd level, the player characters. So you need about 6 people. The Born Again Ogres, the Blinding Light. Dark Denizens of Deep Delve. This is about a mine not too far from the Free City that is important to the city. The Dead of the Howling Hills. You get the idea. I've used some of these adventures as side treks in my various games, or I've just the Waster the Hopping Prophet one. Waster is always one of my more beloved silly monsters, creatures in D&D. So that one saw some good time on my table. So the next thing I'm going to show, this came with 4 poster maps. Oh, one more thing before I go. Sorry. The Role Playing Game Association plug. You could join the RPGA. And then, of course, an ad to subscribe to Dragon and Dungeon Adventure magazine. Little advertising never hurts. So I'm going to go ahead and unfurl the maps and lay them out, and I'll come right back. Okay, here's the first map. This shows Greyhawk City and its environs, the plain of Greyhawk. This is all pre-war, so this would be what Greyhawk owned before the big war came. So there is Greyhawk City itself, and then you go up to here. You see Grossengrottel. To here, the ruins of Castle Greyhawk would be right about there. You got Diamond Lake, the Mist Marsh, the Cairn Hills. All these are important areas around Greyhawk. So I appreciated getting a nice blow-up map that showed me that Lord Blackfair had a manor right there by Tewford. My town of Mydal sits right here. Mydal, if you saw my Wizard's Walk campaign, Mydal was my first homemade city. And when I ported over to Greyhawk in 82, I brought Mydal with me. Okay, so now this is one of 4 maps that came with this. Number 2, actual layout of the city itself. I love this map. I have spent a lot of time just sitting with the key, poring over this. What I really liked was we got to see where the gates were. There's the highway gate. There's the processional. Goes up through the black gate, an inner gate to separate the poor from the not poor, the Petit Bazaar. Continuing up the processional to the garden gate where the well-off live. You have the side gates all the way around here. There's the Druid's Gate, the Duke's Gate. There's the Grand Citadel itself, not a gate, but an important point. You have Barge End over there. You have the Cargo Gate. And then coming down here to Marsh Gate. So, because we do a lot in the city of Greyhawk in my campaign, within the physical confines of the city, I found this map invaluable. I realize this map varies greatly from the one Gary published in the Gore the Rogue novels, and for a while I fought that. I've since converted. I even did my own version of a map like this at one point, based on Gary's map. I've gone over to this. Sorry. This shows the underbelly, literally, of the city of Greyhawk. These are all these sewer lines and stuff that runs beneath the surface. So this is great if you're doing any kind of thief-based game where you could see how they could move around in the city through the sewers. There's a nice little key down here. Shows you a water pipe cistern, burial sites, that kind of stuff. It was pretty nice to have. There's the Thieves Guild right there. And look at that, a big busy bunch of stuff to do in the nearby cemetery, and then a bunch of water pipes and things like that. So this is pretty useful too. This has been on my table a number of times. And then the one that kind of set this whole thing apart for me. There's the city itself, kind of a hillside, bird's eye view, whatever you want to call it. Just nicely drawn, showing what the city itself looks like. There's the Citadel. There are the Colleges of Magic. There's the little Coliseum, gladiatorial games. There's just a bunch of stuff on here that made me ooh and ah. I loved seeing how this is laid out, how the gates looked. And I realize it's my game. The gates look exactly as I want them to. But it was still nice to have something to lay on the table and show my player characters, you are here, you are going to there. So that's it for the City of Greyhawk Adventure box set. It is available on DriveThruRPG. I think it was $20 for a print copy plus the PDF. I couldn't find out if the maps are printed like this or not. I've never bought anything print off of DriveThruRPG. I do know that there are some of these on eBay as well, but I know that the prices vary wildly. So there you have it, the City of Greyhawk box set from 1989. I hope you enjoyed this look at it, and I'll see you next time on page 121.